What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. We have Damian Lillard come out after the game talking about whether or not Kyrie Irving is the most skilled player in the NBA. Now, this has been a debate around the game of basketball for a very long time. And specifically, I think this moniker is one that we use with Kyrie specifically because of the fact that he's kind of a confusing player. What I mean by that is Kyrie is super, super good. There's a pretty substantial gap, in my opinion, between how good Kyrie is and how much he's valued by most basketball fans. This is something I've been pushing back on for years now. It's okay, so you disagree with some stuff Kyrie did off the floor. Okay, so he's had some clear examples of poor teammate behavior. But when the dude is on the court, he's incredible. He's literally incredible. And we literally just saw the other night with Luka out, Kyrie almost single-handedly pulled his team to a win. They are we overcomplicate this a lot of the times when we talk about basketball players, and we overlook because it's almost become an expectation for a player. We overlook what a player is actually accomplishing on the court. Kyrie is a guy who can straight up be your number one if you're great everywhere else. Can he be the number one on a limited team? No. Is he a floor raiser like that? No. But the dude can run an offense. And he competes hard enough defensively when he's locked in that he can be a positive defensive player. He was a positive defensive player on the 2016 Cavs. So I think a lot of this is like galaxy brain, right? And so the way people counteract that is when they have this half of their brain that's going like, Kyrie's overrated, Kyrie's bad teammate, Kyrie's this, Kyrie's that. They counteract that with he's the most skilled player in the NBA. Instead of just talking about the fact that he's just really great at basketball. And to me, that specific phrase, most skilled, it really just depends on how you're defining that. To me, if I had to define what specifically Kyrie does better than most players in the league, it's a versatility of skills. He has the best combination of footwork, ball handling, and shot making from all of the various spots on the floor out of anybody in the league, in my opinion. There are guys who are better than him in ball screens, but they're not as good in the post. There are guys that are better than him in the post, but they're not as good in ball screens. There are guys who are better than him in ISO, but they aren't as good in the other areas. Kyrie is literally capable of doing every conceivable basketball thing about as well as anybody in the league. But that doesn't necessarily make him the most skilled, in my opinion. For instance, I think when people ask me who the most skilled player in NBA history was, or is, it's very obvious to me. It's Steph Curry. Who's the only player beneath the height of 6'5" who is a top 10 player in NBA history? It's Steph. I have him as the 5th best perimeter player of all time. And he's pretty much definitively a top 10 player in NBA history. All the other dudes around him are big guys, either big forwards or centers, right? Or shooting guards that are 6'6" and freaky athletic, right? So Steph has proven just in what he's been able to accomplish on the court that when it comes to winning basketball games on the strength of his skill, no one's better than Steph. But to me, with Steph, it's focused in specific areas. So for instance, Kyrie Irving, in my opinion, has a more advanced ISO bag in terms of the numbers of moves that he can go to. But Steph's just way better than him at shooting. And Steph has been able to weaponize that shooting, both on ball and off the ball, to a greater effect than Kyrie has been able to weaponize all of his footwork and dribble combinations and shot making. So I can't in my right mind say Kyrie's more skilled than Steph because Steph's skill beats Kyrie's skill every single time. And I don't blame Steph for instance, Kyrie, here's just one simple example. Kyrie Irving is a better vertical athlete than Steph. Steph is bigger and stronger. They're equally quick, but Kyrie's a better vertical athlete. He also has a shot where he shoots at the top of his jump, where Steph shoots a little bit more at the beginning, a little bit on the way up in his shot. So, for instance, Doesn't make any sense at all for Steph to work on, complicated post turnaround footwork because he's never going to use that. He's not enough of a vertical athlete, and his jump shot release is not built to turn over his left shoulder and elevate over the top of a defender in a post up and knock down a shot. Now, that's not to say Steph has never hit a turnaround jumper. Of course he has, but it's extremely rare. It's not a shot he goes to, and he usually needs a lot of separation to do it. That's not a shot he works on because it doesn't make sense for him to work on it. So Kyrie, because he is a better vertical athlete, and because he does shoot at the top of his release, or release at the top of his jump, he is a guy that actually can use and does use turnaround jump shots all the time. Famously, Game 5 of the 2016 NBA Finals, in that fourth quarter run, I think he hit 2 big left shoulder fades over Klay Thompson, where he drove hard to the left, planted and turned over his left shoulder, got great lift, shot over the contest of Klay Thompson and knocked the shot down. Right? Like it's just a difference. But at the same time, bottom line is Steph for damn near his entire career has come off of ball screens and off-ball actions and hit threes at 45% on massive volume, and he's learned how to weaponize that into a playmaking element of his game, both on and off the ball. And Steph is able to weaponize his skill into more points. And therefore he's a better basketball player, and therefore he's the most skilled player in NBA history, in my opinion. But if I was looking for some sort of claim to fame for Kyrie, to me, he is the most versatile skill set in the NBA. He can score like forwards do. He can score like shooting guards do. He can score like point guards do. He can do what Steph does and come off of a wide pin down and shoot a movement 3 over his left or right shoulder. He can run a ball screen and make a variety of pull-up threes in pick and roll, but he's not as good at those things as Steph is, and that's why I look at Steph as the most skilled player in the NBA. But again, to me, that really is just in the eye of the beholder, and arguing about it doesn't really make a ton of sense, just simply because most skilled to one person may not mean the same thing to another person. For instance, Steph, in my opinion, is a much better playmaker than Kyrie. But does that factor in as a skill? Steph is a much better off-ball player than Kyrie. The ability to move without the basketball and weaponize that, is that a skill? It just depends if you're factoring it in. Because if we're not factoring that in, if I'm just strictly looking at one-on-one play, then I might lean more towards Kyrie, or I have to think about it, but it's a different discussion, right? And that's my point. It's really difficult to kind of nail down the parameters of this. But if I had to, based on my kind of interpretation of what most skilled is, it's the one guy in NBA history who's beneath the height of 6'5", who's a top 10 player in the history of the game. That's Steph. He won with his skill and did it better than any other skilled player in the history of the league. Therefore, it's him. And that's why I'd give him that title.